Hello everyone, and welcome to another installment of The Inner Sanctum. I am your host, Izzy, and today I am proud to talk about the 1950 Billy Wilder classic, Sunset Boulevard. It is about a fictional silent screen star by the name of Norma Desmond and what happens to her after Talking Pictures come out and her descent, into madness. And in one respect, a lot of silent stars did lose their careers after sound pictures came out because their voices did not match and they didn't really work. Garbo, for instance, they waited about 2 years before her talking debut, and the ones I know that made it effortlessly from silent to sound are my favorite comedians, Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, and their first short was aptly titled Unaccustomed as We Are. But we'll talk about Laurel and Hardy in a different video episode. Now let's talk about some of the stars in the movie. You have, of course, Gloria Swanson, who plays Norma Desmond. Originally, they were thinking perhaps either Mae West or Mary Pickford, but from what I understand, the story goes that both of them thought they were too young to play the part of Norma Desmond. But I also heard that Mae West wanted to do what she did in all of her earlier movies, which was rewrite the script, and with a Billy Wilder movie where he helped pen the script, that was a no-no. You had to follow the script precisely for a Billy Wilder film. And Mary Pickford, she always owned her negatives, and that was a no-no. Also, Gloria Swanson was in silent movies, but her career afterwards did not mirror Norma Desmond's because she was doing acting in theater and all, and so she had a pretty steady career. And the next star we'll talk about was William Holden. For his part, they originally wanted Montgomery Clift, but after he came back from a vacation, he decided he didn't want to do it. So they finally got William Holden. And his career mirrors the character just a little bit in the fact that about 1940, he did a movie called Golden Boy and was very popular then, and his career has waned a little bit since then. So it mirrors this character in the movie a little bit because he's a screenwriter of movies, and he's only had a couple of his movies made into B pictures, and that was it. And then we come to her servant and butler, Max, played by the great Erich von Stroheim. He was a director and an actor. You might have heard about his big epic Greed, which was a very famous silent movie. It was based on a book called McTeague, and he filmed every page of that book. And it ran over 8 hours. And the few people who saw it said it was an epic, it was a masterpiece. But MGM said, no, you had to cut it down. So Stroheim cut it down to 4 hours. That still wasn't enough. So Irving Thalberg took control of the movie and trimmed it to 2 hours. Now the 2-hour version is very good. But if that's very good, I can just imagine how good the 4-hour version would be. And the 8-hour version, which everybody who's seen it said it was a masterpiece, would be great to see. But odds are, since it was a silent movie, prints of that probably do not exist. But we can hope that maybe sooner or later a copy could possibly resurface. And that isn't the only time that Erich von Stroheim had problems with the studios. He was often over budget for reasons such as if in the scene it called for people to have caviar and champagne at dinner, he insisted on them actually eating caviar and actually drinking champagne. He wouldn't fake any of it. And he was always constantly shooting a lot more film than he needed to and was going over budget on film and over schedule. So in many instances, his movies were taken away from him. But the ones he made were very good. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Orson Welles, because Orson Welles, the movies he made were good, but he also went over budget and shot a lot of stuff that they didn't use, so it cost a lot more money, and some of his movies were taken away from him. And both of them later on went into acting. So could you say perhaps that maybe Erich von Stroheim was the silent Orson Welles? Interesting thought to ponder. The character of Max directed Norma Desmond in silent movies. Just so happens that the movie that Gloria Swanson and William Holden are watching in Norma Desmond's theater in her living room is a movie called Queen Kelly, which was starred Gloria Swanson and actually directed by von Stroheim. And afterwards, like I said, he became an actor. He became a German actor billed as the man you love to hate. And then you have Nancy Olson, who worked for one of the studios who helped develop scripts. And she thought it was kind of amusing because in the movie, Norma Desmond meets Cecil B. DeMille, played by himself, of course. And at one time, Nancy Olson said how Cecil B. DeMille was thinking about casting her as Delilah in his epic Samson and Delilah, which is the movie he's shooting during Sunset Boulevard. And last but not least, in a supporting role, we come to ta-da-da-da, Sergeant Joe Friday, Jack Webb. He plays Nancy Olson's love interest. Couple differences between here and Dragnet. In Dragnet, when he's walking around as Sergeant Friday, he walks, kind of stiffly. I guess that's just the way the character was. But in here, he plays a guy named Artie, and he walks around more like a regular person. And he has a regular haircut, not a crew cut that's parted on the side. And ready for this? You get to see Jack Webb smile. And you get to see his teeth while he's smiling. That's almost worth the price of the 4K in and of itself. And at the same time, he was busy with this record album. Yes, Jack Webb made a record album. That will be a future video of actors making record albums. And I think you will enjoy that when I get to it. Now, when they had a sneak preview of the movie for industry people and all, everybody loved it except Louis B. Mayer. He stormed out and he was ticked off and he said something to Billy Wilder like, "How the heck could you do this to us?" Which was, he was basically showing how when silent screen people weren't needed anymore, they just tossed them and threw them away, and he didn't like anybody showing that side of Hollywood. Well, it's a reality, and I think it needed to be shown. Now, one piece in the movie that I still don't quite understand is at the beginning, when William Holden first comes to her door, Max thinks he is the funeral director and bring the coffin for Norma Desmond's dead monkey. Dead monkey? Yeah, she has a monkey and it died and they're going to get a coffin for it, but there's no explanation of why she had a monkey to begin with. Was it just to show that she's eccentric, which we knew that, but if we knew why she had the monkey to begin with, that would have shown even more eccentricities on the part of Norma Desmond. But the movie as a whole is a very good movie, and anybody who likes movies, I would urge to view it. Now, let's get a bit into the transfer. They sadly didn't have the original camera negative, so they had to go with what was called a third generation dupe negative. And let me try to explain this a little bit on the technical side here, and I hope I don't lose anybody, but we'll see. Now, the original camera negative is considered the first generation. And from that, they make a positive copy, also known as the interpositive. And the interpositive loses a little bit of quality from the original camera negative. It's like when you copy something on a copying machine, a picture, and it loses a little bit of the original copy. The same thing happens with film. And then from that interpositive they make another negative, which is called a dupe negative, and it's the third generation, because the first generation is the original negative, the second generation is the interpositive, and then the third generation is the negative. And that negative is what's used to make prints for theatrical release. So the theatrical release is really fourth generation from the original negative. That's why when a movie is put on Blu-ray or 4K and they scan the original negative, that's why it looks a lot better. Then you might be saying to me, Izzy, why don't they just use the original negative to make prints? Well, you see, the thing is, negatives, when they keep on using them, they wear out. And they don't want to wear out the original negative of any film, so that's why they do the third generation dupe negative, so they can make the copies that way and keep the original copy in good condition. But a lot of movies from around 1950 and before, a lot of the original negatives are gone. It's estimated that about 50% of movies made before 1950 are gone. Most of those from the silent era, and depending on who you talk to, is like 85 to say 90% of all silent movies made in this country are gone. But thank goodness we at least have a copy of Sunset Boulevard. So the version they have, it's not a bad version. You get 2 discs. You get the 4K disc, which is the movie by itself, and you get all the extras on the Blu-ray disc. And the Blu-ray disc is the one that has been out for several years now. If you don't have the movie at all, I would say yes, definitely pick it up if you like the movie. But if you already have the Blu-ray version, you can wait for a sale and you'll be pretty much okay with that. But I think it's a wonderful movie and I think everybody could see it. And like I said, if for no other reason than to see Mr. Joe Friday smiling with his teeth. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little foray into Sunset Boulevard and the making of it. Now, I would say, go and watch this wonderful film. I do not think you will be disappointed. And next time we will have a double feature here on the Inner Sanctum. So until then, I will leave you with these final words from Norma Desmond. I am ready for my close-up now, Mr. DeMille. It's too close, Mr. DeMille. It's too close. Still too close, Mr. DeMille. Still too close. Ah, that's better. Thank you, Mr. DeMille. That's perfect.